Matt here with Field Contact. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in to all the previous videos. I appreciate you. If you're new here, welcome. I'm happy you're here. I like sharing information, and I think it's good for the community to learn and grow from one another. Okay, so I'm out in the desert in Arizona, and I was gonna come to shoot and do some drills and try to get some bunch of good content, but there's a fire ban in place right now in the national forest that I'm in, due to the lack of rain that we've received this season and the temperatures rising. Okay, and so because that fire ban, we're not allowed to shoot, not allowed to have campfires, those things, right? Because they don't want to start wildfires, and I can respect that. And because I can respect that, I'm not going to shoot. But I didn't drive all the way out here just to come out here and hang out by the creek and then drive back. Okay, so I figured since I'm out here, I have all my stuff, and it's kind of been something I've been toying with. I figured why not do it today, right? The weather's perfect, it's not super hot, and I think it'll be a good humbling experience for me to check it out too. Okay, we have battle belts, we have plate carriers, we have helmets, we have rifles, right? We have these things, and we work on them on a linear range. Okay, very flat typically. It's not too often that we wear our kit or our gear and we hoof it, right? So I'm gonna do a training exercise, for lack of better words, of donning all my gear, my plate carrier full loadout as I have it stowed, my helmet, right, my belt as you see me wearing it as it's configured 90% of the time, and then my go-to AR pistol. That is my typical long gun platform. Okay, and we're gonna go hike up in the mountain. It's not super, I don't think it's a mountain like some of the other ones around here, but I think that is going to be a very challenging test in kit. And once I'm there, I'm going to pretend that I am working my way down to link up to my truck, right, where maybe the rest of my equipment would be, or maybe supplies would be, and we're just gonna have fun with it. Okay, so I have some spare batteries. I've got my waterproof case, so if the audio is a little off, I apologize now, just in case it drops in the dirt or it drops in the water. At least this way it's protected. But yeah, we're gonna see how much it sucks, right? And we get some exercise out of it, and we'll have some fun along the way of just like working the terrain and working our gear. So stay tuned. All right, everybody, all my gear's donned: battle belt, plate carrier, full loadout, rifle is slung, everything is chambered and ready to go. We got eyes and ears should we need them, got the radio set up should we need it, and got a couple snacks in the dump pouch. And unfortunately, the one thing I've noticed was I neglected a water situation, so luckily I have a carabiner and my water bottle, so that's going to come with me. So we're going to mosey on and see what's what. And this could be interesting with the helicopter overhead. See, that's the sheriff. So we're not shooting because the fire ban, so can't get in trouble to walk around with your stuff on. So let's go. We're gonna head up to the mountain, we'll assess, and then we'll work on making our way back down to the truck to simulate we're rallying up with friendlies to exfil to a different location or something of that nature. Okay, so let's have some fun with it.
Alright, rifle slung. Get to moving. The vehicle is locked up. So I think the obvious thing with any sort of foot patrol or moving on ground is obviously foot placement. If you're not in a rush, take your time, because I think rolling an ankle or worse, spraining something might not be very ideal on the earlier stages of said walk or hike. So here in Arizona, the terrain varies. Obviously, when we get good snow that melts off or good rain, this turns into a pretty decent creek. Obviously, things get loose. So, I can't take credit for this little tip, but I can give credit to the person who mentions it. Grant Thumb, alright? I'm sure most of you seen his videos, follow him. Wealth of Resources. Did a video on like an urban survival scenario, right? And he mentioned like being prepared and some other things, but the one thing I liked, he talked about like stopping, observing, oriented, listening, and then looking to see what's going on around. And one thing he mentioned was talking about like, are there spent casings, are there spent shells? Is it a variety of casings? Shotgun shells. We got little 22 guys. I'm sure further back there was some rifle cartridges, right? So you could assess like, is that friendlies, you know, out here that are engaging people, or is this, are these bad guys, right? Like if we have an occupying force coming, you know, so things to think about to help warrant yourself, especially if you're going on foot or you're moving, right? So we're gonna send up here and then we'll assess from there, right? Because this isn't a rush. So take your time, watch your footing. Bunch of loose rocks, you can tell when it rains. This is where the water goes, so there's gonna be more erosion. So just some things to look at. All right, see you at the top. All right, we ascended to the top. We were down there, made it up to the top. A couple loose spots, but like I said, just go slow, right? If you're not in a rush, because you don't have anybody pursuing you, or you're not trying to put distance between you and something, right? Take your time. Even if you do have somebody pursuing you, or you're trying to create distance, be mindful. Like, push where you can, right? Slow down where you need to, so that you don't A, hurt yourself, B, exert yourself to where now you can't make it further, and that distance you're trying to create now actually becomes a much smaller gap. So we're about, I don't know, halfway to where I want to go. Initially, I set up there, so unfortunately what goes up must go down, so we're going to go down right here and then keep going up. Truck down there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. It's right over this bush in between those two cactuses. So we're getting there. Let's keep going. Alright folks, we just went back up that upper saddle and got a good line of sight of the truck and the creek below. You can see the road all the way coming in. So you can see the trail, the road I drove in is way up there. So let's say we lost comms because we're inside kind of the saddle right here between these high ridges, and we're trying to connect with our buddies or another friendly force, right? And let's just say your radio isn't as prepared. So you got to climb up and get some elevation to allow that antenna to reach out further, right? Or to hit a repeater, should you have that capability. So we're going to continue going up. No more trail here. And like I said, I live in Arizona, and so there's rattlesnakes. So I'm being honest, I'm not super thrilled, but it's for the mission. So you got to do it, right? But the nice part about rattlesnakes, they let you know with their rattlers. So this goes back kind of to what I was talking about earlier, referring to Grand Thumb's video of, you know, orient yourself, listen, observe, things like that, right? So if you hear those indicators, whether they are natural, right, such as predators, or they are human opposing force, right, be mindful of it. So we're going to keep going up. We're going to go to the top, establish some comms, and then we'll make it back down to our truck so that we can rendezvous with them at their location. I was thinking if we went up one way, we should probably go down another way. So we'll assess that as we descend, but first we must continue to ascend. So let's do it. Established comms. We ascended up a decent amount. So before we descend, we're going to take a minute. We're going to replenish. Famous mantra, right? What goes up must come down. So completed established comms. Took a minute to rehydrate, get some calories in us, and we're going to start ascending down the peak that we are on. So you can kind of see the truck is right over this cactus right here. Kind of see the creek below. If you look right past the creek, you'll see the truck right where we left it. So we're going to go down. I'm going to aim for those rocks, and then we'll find a way down and get into the creek, and then we'll follow the creek back to our starting point. And if we can get there safely without any injuries or contacts, I'd say it's a successful mission, right? So let's get after it. Got good concealment. Big boulders give you natural cover. Yeah, you got nice good shade. You could clear this out if you had to set up like an Overwatch, or if you were running a relay, like a radio relay thing. Wouldn't be a bad spot in my opinion. Kind of what we've been talking about. Glad I was able to show it to you in real life. Watch your footing, watch your step, because that could have been worse, falling into spiky trees or rolling an ankle. That would be alarming at this time. Not seeing nothing. So if you don't have to get your feet wet, I would highly advise against it. So we'll find a spot to maybe cut. I know there's one good cut here. We could probably cross some of the smaller spots. Things to consider now. We are 100% exposed, right? And depending on the time of the year, it could be flash floods. So be cognizant and mindful. If you have an opposing force on this side, sucking into that wall would be ideal. And then vice versa, opposing force on this side, sucking into that wall. Okay. Finish. You have to backtrack a couple feet so that you don't get your socks soaking wet, still have to hike miles, do it. Take care of your feet, they'll take care of you. Another thing, just like you guys experience where it snows, we're leaving foot tracks, or footprints, tracks, whatever you want to call them, right? So, be cognizant of all that. There's an abundance of water life right now. Could you drink that water? If you had to, I'm sure you could filter it out with time and patience. I would not drink that water as is, right? You can heat it to boil off the bacteria and then strain it through a bottle filled with rocks, almost like a charcoal filter. And then maybe even if you had like some purifying tabs, right? Shoot, probably be the best water you've drank. Speaking of which, we're gonna take a little break. Good little spot. Good concealment with the shade, right? That helicopter we saw earlier, if it was flying over, probably wouldn't see us. Maybe move the gun and rifle. Could set them over here somewhere. Or I mean the gun and helmet. What a cool mission. Kind of glad the fire ban was in effect. It kind of forced me to do it, right? Challenge myself. I know this video is going to be a little bit longer, but I think it's pretty cool. At least I've enjoyed it. So, yeah, we'll rest a little bit. Hydrate a little bit more. We'll keep on moving. Cheers. So we're moving again on foot. A nice break. Hydrate a little bit. And as we're still falling in the water, as you can hear it, I see that thing. I have no idea what that is. It's obviously pipes leading down to where the creek or river would go, depending on the time of year. Makes me wonder if it's like a pump house or a well. Obviously, we are not in a true survival mission, so we're not going to further investigate because it would require damaging the fence. But if that's a pump house or a well that can pull clean water, could be a very huge resource. And maybe a determination on where you set up camp, right? Yeah, it's something, all right. It's got a depth gauge on the side. Interesting. Just kind of something to think about. If you have time on your side to where you can explore and investigate things that could better equip you or increase your survivability, why not use some of that time and resource? It'd be no different than going into the city to do like a scavenger run for medicine, food, ammunition, guns, things like that, right? There is a risk and a reward, and sometimes you and your peers that you may be linking up with might need to evaluate those risks and rewards. So I kind of said it earlier, but try to get the camera down. These are obviously not my blueprints, but this was a real mission where and I saw this, I would be a lot more quiet, stealthy, a little bit more tactful in my approach, because they're obviously going that way. Because there's the right foot, you can kind of see the left foot there. So they're obviously walking this way. You don't know if they're friendly or a foe, and it would be very unfortunate to go through this whole entire mission to establish comms with your buddies, to set up a rendezvous, to get captured with your gear, or worse, ambushed by yourself. So if this was real, maybe it's us going across the stream to the other side, or maybe pushing a little bit higher up onto the ridge. Just do something that they aren't doing, all right? Make it more challenging for them. There it is. There's Silver Bullet. There's the truck. Obviously, we're coming back to our rendezvous. I go up to these rocks. Right? Got good cover. And start assessing. I also hear a vehicle. I hear the vehicle to pull out. Two of them. There's at least two guys. This was a real mission. I would not want to be out there right now. 2 versus 1 would not be ideal, especially since we don't know if they're friendlies. And since now there's more trucks. Right? So these are things to consider. More so, I'm trying to get back to my truck that has all my gear, my food, my supplies. And these guys are not friendly and become scavengers. Ultimately start pillaging your stuff. And now it becomes a fight, right? Like true mission survival mindset. Like they start pillaging your stuff, you have to make that conscious decision, like, am I going to battle it out? May the best man win? Or am I just going to let them, pillage and hopefully then leave, and then I can go back and salvage what's left, right? And those are tough choices, especially when you're by yourself. So, kind of interesting to think about. I'm also kind of glad that they showed up, because it forced us to look for good cover, good concealment. We are pretty much protected 270 degrees, and we know our threat was coming from that way. Potentially, this is an optimal spot. If I were to get into a firefight, this is where I'd want to be right now, because I have different means of elevation. Go up, I can come out right here. I can shoot from the side. When I was initially filming, I could have easily sat my rifle right here, started banging away. Definitely gave them a scare. So, alright, let's finish this mission. Scan the horizon. I don't see, they have big trucks, so it'd be hard for them to hide behind these little trees and shrubs. So, and the fact that there was 3 of them would make it more challenging. but it looks like it's clear. Let's push out. Let's finish this mission. So we completed our mission, our objective, whatever you want to call it, right? We set out with a plan and we accomplished that plan. The plan was to simulate establishing communications by going up this mountain, hill, whatever you want to call it, behind me, right? And we did that by discussing pros and cons of using already established paths and trails to pros and cons of blazing your own. Also took some advice from other individuals, and we talked about specifically Grand Thumb and his urban survival video, talking about stopping and orienting ourselves and just kind of assessing, right? And we did that while talking about the different cartridges, casings, and the things that we found on the floor to like identify, hey, are these like friendlies, or these adversaries, like what are they, and what type of weaponry do they have, right? Because that's a huge consideration. But we got to the top, we turned on the radio, we had good reception with the National Weather Service. Obviously, you can't transmit on that, right? So you're limited. Now, if we had another person on the channel that I use, we could have had a lot more fun, and that might be something for the future. But we did it. We got to the top, a higher point, because right now we're kind of in the saddle. So we got to the higher point, got some radio frequencies up, got some communication, and then we ascended down that same mountain using a different path, right? To make it a little bit more challenging should there be an adversary or another group that might be following you that you don't want following you, right? So we went down another path, and we followed back the creek, river, stream, whatever you want to call it, back to our rendezvous point of our truck, okay? So overall, I think for doing it on a whim, because we couldn't do no shooting content, which for those of you that were like, I was really looking forward to some shooting stuff, I apologize. But hopefully you got something out of this, right? So I had a lot of fun. Again, if you're new, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you like this content. If you do me a favor, smash that subscribe button, leave a comment, right? Like, let me know. If you don't like this stuff, tell me what you want to see, and maybe we can adjust, right? Don't come at me saying, oh, like, I want you to do baking videos, because that's not my forte, sorry. But like, you'd be like, hey, like, I could use some suggestions with, you know, plates. I could use some suggestion with carriers. I could use some suggestion with optics, you know, packing out, things like that. Let's talk about it, because collectively we can bring in a bunch of other people with other viewpoints, right? And piggyback off of them to kind of just keep sharing information. And realistically, that's all this channel's for. It's sharing information. I'm not an expert, not an instructor, not a trainer, you know, none of those things. I'm an average guy, just like all of you that are watching, right? I did some time in the military. I was a firefighter in the military. I've worked patrol setting in a police environment, so like some of the things I discuss and I talk about, like I have some experience with it, so I'm not just totally talking out my ass, but I don't claim to be anything that I'm not, okay? So, not instructor, sorry, and I'm not a professional. I'm just sharing some experiences that I have, and some considerations that I've thought about that maybe you all have thought about. And so we're just talking about them. So again, if you like it, subscribe, like, all those good things. Also, tune into the Field Contact Instagram page. A lot of good stuff goes up there from time to time. Real quick, I am wearing my Gadsden Dynamics plate carrier with Hesco Level 210 plates. Magazines are all Magpul accessories. I got my the ROM pouch full of medical kit, right? So if you are looking for solid equipment, you just saw we traversed all over this Arizona desert wearing this stuff, and it worked, and everything stayed nice and tight, right? We had it all. I'm a real big fan of the True North's concepts mounting plate for pistols, just because it screws to the belt, so it's nice and tight, and it's metal or aluminum. I don't even know, but it's some sort of alloy, right? So it's much more rigid, and it keeps it nice and sturdy compared to the plastic stuff. And when you're moving around like this, like, there's an advantage to that. It's nice and tight to the body. So again, some other things to check out. But if you have any questions or comments about anything, like I said, drop them in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to answer anything. So again, congrats, mission accomplished. Thanks for joining. I had a lot of fun. See you on the next one, guys. Cheers.